To mark the anniversary of 25 years with MS, I set out to climb 2 live volcanoes on the remote islands of Vanuatu to prove to myself and others that miracles can happen. For 10 years, I could barely walk. This idea was impossible, but now I feel immense gratitude for being able to do this. The crater is a 6-hour grueling hike from the sea to the summit. Tonight, we sleep in the so-called kill zone. If the volcano erupts, we die. It makes you appreciate how powerful, unpredictable, and fragile life is. For me, living begins at the edge of my comfort zone. We grow more from facing challenges than choosing the easy path. Never let a good disaster go to waste.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Bold Life Suite and the Inspiring Women series. Today, I'm really happy to have a guest with us who's really special. Her name is Kat Finnerty, and she's the author of the book, Never Let a Good Disaster Go to Waste. This book is amazing, and it really inspired me. And I'm so happy to have you here today, Kat. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I'd like to ask you, first of all, how would you describe your memoir, and what inspired you to come up with that title, Never Let a Good Disaster Go to Waste? It was quite inspiring.
Well, the title actually was coined by my Buddhist teacher, Lama Marut, and he used to always say, we are always either in a disaster or between two of them. But if you learn something from that disaster, you'll never let a good disaster go to waste. So that's really where the title came from. And the book is a combination of all of my disasters. Many people say my memoir reads like fiction, and it's when life is actually stranger than fiction. And I think, what do you think? It's a travel adventure. It's it's betrayal, it's mystery, it's romance, it's
I
everything.
found it was just chock full of so much happening, so much adventure, and so much of you getting through things. And it was just so inspiring how you just kept going forward. And that really was very inspiring to me. And the title, The Master of Disaster, for that you call yourself, I think that's really cute too. How did that name come up?
Well, that's interesting because I'm someone that's always in a disaster. I think I was like born trouble. My dad actually always said, I'm the child he should have drowned at birth. So from a young age, I was really tainted with this sort of veil of being the naughty one, always up to mischief and trouble.
Yeah,
But I always seemed to get out of it. And every disaster I hit, I managed to manifest a way out of it. And people can never imagine the things and the trouble I get myself up to, which is why everyone reads it. It's like, is this a movie yet? And it will be a movie very
I'm
soon.
sure it will, and if not, it should be.
Yeah, because it's just the most wild, crazy things happen to me. And then the way that I always think, whenever anything happens, why is this happening to me? And instead of getting furious, I get curious. Why am I stranded on an island for two years? you know, and so many things have happened in my life. Why have I got this disease that could cripple me by the age of 40? And what can I do with that? How can I master it? And there's tough times for sure. Like I've hit rock bottom, but Buddhism taught me how to change my thinking as well.
Yeah, you have a really original way of thinking about things from what I've read in your book. Um, it kind of starts on your 40th birthday, the book. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's one of the most painful moments, I guess, in your life at the beginning. But you moved through it with surprising clarity. So I'd like to know how you did that. And like getting over it in 12 hours is just unbelievable to most people, I would think. So how would you describe that you did that? I mean,
Yeah, so what you're referring to is on my 40th birthday, I was lying in a hospital bed and my daughter called to say happy birthday. And she said, your friend had a sleepover in your bed. And that day I found out that was the end of 15 years of marriage, 3 kids. And as that night went on, I sat there and went from anger and rage and profound sadness and despair. And then I'd think about every single disaster I've had in my past and I'd counteract it. And by the time morning came along, I was over it. I thought I can choose to send love or I can choose to send hate. And I thought I can choose to suffer for 12 hours, 12 days, 12 years, or a lifetime. But ultimately, the length I suffered was entirely up to me. But
Choice.
one thing that was super profound was that I had 3 young kids at the time. They were in grade 6, 7, and 8. And I thought, if I hang on and harbor this anger and this pain, I'll transfer that pain onto my children. But I didn't just do this just like that. As I said, my book is about all of my disasters. I've had so many disasters that by the time my husband left me on my 40th birthday, I thought, I've got this. I've had so much worse happen to me
You are an
that
expert.
I'm an expert. I'm a master of disaster. So whenever anything happens to people, I always say, if someone goes, "Oh, my husband or my partner left," I say, "Congratulations." Why do we say I'm sorry? I say congratulations. Every ending is a new beginning. The length of time you sit in that suffering is a choice. And you can choose to manifest an incredible new life, which is exciting.
It is. It's always, new beginnings are always wonderful and exciting.
Every ending is a new beginning. Every
Exactly.
breath, at the end of every breath. So Buddhism teaches, every single thing in life is impermanent. Everything you have now, you will lose. Everything. So when something you love, you lose, or it's lost, or it ends, you can choose to say, I want to hang on to it and grasp onto that, or realize that it was always going to happen and then send it love, be grateful for the lessons, and then move on.
Wonderful. Um, you were diagnosed with MS at a very young age, in your 20s, I believe, uh,
Mm-hmm.
given a difficult prognosis. Um, what changed for you, and how did that healing journey unfold once you got that diagnosis?
So I was lying in a hospital bed. I'd just given birth to my first child, and I was blissful. I was happy, just married to a man in Australia. And a neurologist came into my hospital room and said, "Be happy with this one little child. You should be able to walk at least until you're 40." I was 27 at the time. "And you've got a progressive disease with no cure." I was I was devastated, but I was also determined. I thought, nope, that's not going to happen to me. But, life has got a very funny sense of humor sometimes. And I went on to have 3 kids in 3 years. I defied the doctor's orders. And really, with every single new birth, I lost a part of my life. I lost the use of my legs, the use of my arms. My baby stroller doubled as my walker. And by the time my third child was born, when I was 30, I couldn't see out of one eye. I was a mess and I hit rock bottom. I really did. And it was hitting that rock bottom that propelled me to find another way to live. And I thought, I am either going to find a cure and heal, or I'm going to die trying. And that nearly happened many times as well.
I saw that in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was like so scary.
So it came from a determination and a lot of work, working on my mind, especially. So with my book, as you know, I've got 12 principles to overcome any disaster. I say I can help people overcome death, disease, divorce, and also irritating people. So I think so much of us, of our healing and our illness, can come from our thoughts. And that's where I started. But that's certainly not where I ended. I did crazy things, completely nuts.
Yeah, things that to me you have to be so brave to do. I couldn't believe half of them. It was very inspiring for sure. So you said that mindset played a major role in transforming your health and your life. Can you describe that inner shift and how others might make a similar change?
Yeah, so I'll tell you right now that this is what changed my life. I hit rock bottom and I was going to leave my husband and my kids and move to India. I thought, if I can find peace in Goa, like Elizabeth Gilbert did in Eat, Pray, Love, then I'd find some way to live. So instead of moving to India, I found a Buddhism class in a hot attic in Melbourne, and I drove 4 hours there. And that first class changed my life forever.
Yeah.
And that one thing was Vegemite.
The
I
Vegemite
sat there
machine.
that day at the first class and I was telling the class, they said, "What brought you here?" And I said, I'm 33 years old. My prognosis is grim. I'm meant to be in a wheelchair by the time I'm 40. I've got 3 little children who I love dearly, but they drive me crazy. My boys I called search and destroy. They were wild. My body didn't work. I was having trouble walking. I was driving with one eye closed. My arms weren't working. I love my husband, but boy, did we argue. And the Buddhist teacher sat there and looked at me and he screamed at me and he said, "If you think your life sucks, you need to change your perspective and you've got 1 week to do it." He said, "You need to find something that you hate and turn it into something that you love."
Exactly.
So I thought, what is the most soul destroying, revolting thing I can think of? And it was Vegemite.
I've never tried it, but
It,
I'll take your word for it.
it's one of those things that, yeah, only you have to be born into loving. And that week, I spent all week trying to eat Vegemite. And at first, I was like, ugh, it's disgusting. But by the end of the week, I could eat it. And that's when I realized if I can change my perception on Vegemite, something I thought was vile, I can change my perception on everything I hated about my life and choose to love it instead. And that was pivotal to everything.
It takes practice for sure, but you can
It
do it.
takes intention.
Intention, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
And my Buddhist teacher always says that we are always either in a disaster between two of them. And without some sort of spiritual practice, we are at the mercy of whatever calamity is around the corner. So it was definitely intentional. I mean, I would listen to Buddhist teachings, wisdom, not just Buddhism, but anything I needed help with. I would sit there with earphones all day, cleaning, driving, whatever I was doing, and just change my mindset, reprogram my mindset. And it took work and it took intention and it takes a lot of letting go. Because when we hang on to things that cause us to suffer, we suffer.
Exactly. It's like when we hate, it's not really doing anything to the other person. It's hurting us, you know?
Absolutely. So that's why one of my principles in my book, 12 Principles, is radical forgiveness. We don't ever forgive for the other person, we forgive for ourselves.
Right.
And do I get angry? Yes, all the time. My kids always say, "Mom, you're supposed to handle that." I'm like, yeah, I can be angry for 12 hours and then I need to move on. Because hanging on to it, especially having an illness, I feel it right away. I have relapses. So I really need to watch my thoughts and how long I hang on to that anger and just quickly go, you know what? Whatever's happened, but I'm going to send you love and I'm going to let that go.
That's such a great way to look at it, a great philosophy.
It's
You,
not easy though. It's completely counterintuitive when people really,
I,
do
yes,
wrong by you and your perception, and also everything is your perception. They might not think they've done the wrong thing.
right.
So everyone's got their own story, right? So when my husband left me, he had his own story about what he was doing, right?
Exactly.
Right or wrong, whether I agreed with it or not, everyone justifies their own actions.
Right.
So everyone's got a different perception. So I'm not right, I'm not wrong, but my thoughts make it so. So I can always change my perception and try to see how others would look at it and also forgive, because I need to understand that when I point a finger at someone else and said, "You did this," there's 3 other fingers pointing back at me, and I got to go, well, what have I done wrong in the past? Who have I lied to? Who have I what wrong things have I done? And I'm certainly not perfect. So
None of us are, and that's for sure.
yeah, but we stand in judgment, right? When we're angry at someone, we sit there and tell our friends they did this and they did that. And we have this whole laundry list of all of our complaints. But how is that helpful?
It's
It's,
definitely not.
and when can you let it go? Like, how long are you going to walk around going, hey, because you can walk around being angry for a hell of a long time. But one thing my Buddhist teacher used to always say that when someone's angry, you can see it in their face, that angry person. They've got, the eyes and the lips, and they're just angry. And they're not people you want to be around. So
Yeah.
he used to say, if you want to save money on Botox, forgive, send love, be happy.
It's true. Yeah.
Mm.
You outline and you mentioned earlier the 12 principles in your book. Which ones stand out most for you now, and particularly for someone who's struggling with not being sure where to begin?
The first is mastering your mind. Until you master your mind, until you realize that it is you talking in your head, no one else. It's only you up there. So you are responsible. I always say you have a responsibility. You have the ability to respond to anything that happens, and you have an ability to choose which thoughts to believe. We can't stop ourselves from thinking. We think about 70,000 thoughts a day, but we can choose which thoughts are going to serve us. So really watching the mind. And when I first learned meditation, I hated it. And I said to the teacher, I can't meditate. My mind's too busy. And you know what he said? Oh, you're the one. Because everyone says that.
Yeah.
But they say we don't learn meditation just to sit there, cross-legged and, look
No.
spiritual.
I find my own way to meditate. Yeah.
But the reason we meditate is to realize that we can control our thoughts and we can choose our thoughts.
Exactly.
And you meditate for showtime, for when the shit hits the fan and
That's
you're
right.
like, ah.
Because it's so important to control your thoughts. That is really the most important thing. It really is.
Well, everything stems from there, really. Like people talk about post-traumatic stress. Why do they have post-traumatic stress? Because an incident happened
Mm-hmm.
and then they just kept replaying it in their head. So they talk about when something happens, you have to almost say stop. You put a wrench in the cogs and you're like, stop. Stop going on with the story. How do you want the ending? You want a good ending, you need to let that go and go, okay, it's all going to be all right, not catastrophizing, and then turning it around. It's counterintuitive because we love to go worst case scenario, oh my God, worrying and agonizing. But how is that helpful? So, one quote I love is this: worrying about the future does not change the future, but it does change today, and not for the better.
So true, and that's a great quote. For people stuck in survival mode, whether from illness, grief, or betrayal, what's one practical step that they can take to reclaiming their energy or clarity today?
Number one is, did you think that wasn't going to happen? Really? Like, if you're alive, if you have breath in your body, you're going to have problems. You're going to be lied to, you're going to be betrayed, you're going to be stolen from. Get at the list. Like, everybody that's ever lived has gone through these things. Remaining there means you're remaining in victimhood. You're not being a master of your disasters. You're allowing them to destroy you. So, number one, when these things happen, you're like, oh, that's how everyone else feels when they're lied to, cheated on, stolen from, betrayed, or lost someone they loved, because we will lose everything. So, first of all, number one is recognizing that it's your choice to stay in victimhood. By staying in that victimhood, who else is wearing your pain? And knowing that that's part of our journey. I really believe that our life is like a puzzle. And every single part of our life, some bits are easy, they got straight edges and corners. You're like, yeah, I get that. But the most difficult pieces of our life, they're meant to be there too, because our life is not whole without those challenging bits. And those challenging bits, when you get them, you're like, yes, I can do it. And those darkest moments, those are the times that you go, I don't want to live here anymore. And those are the catalysts for growth. We can let everybody will go through hell, and you can let that hell make you better or bitter, and that is a
Exactly.
choice.
We we're in control of that. How the outcome, how we take it, how we choose to live in it or not live in it.
Yes, and that's true. But I mean, and for me especially, it's how you're brought up, and I didn't have the tools, and that's why I wrote a whole book about it. It's like, here's the manual on getting over suffering, because we're not armed with these tools. We're not armed with the superpowers usually in school of when something happens, like, wow, bang bang bang, do these things to overcome it. We in the West are scab pickers. We have this perfect, amazing life. And we sit there and go, oh, but this thing is not going right. I live in a country which is a third world and developing nation. They don't have anything. They don't have
Mhm.
power. They'll never flush a toilet. They'll never turn on a tap
Yeah, we're
in
so
their,
privileged
in
here and we don't realize it. Yeah.
no idea. It's like right over the head. So I always say, do some comparison. If you're in suffering right now, if you're upset about something, go and do some comparison shopping on your life
Mm,
and go, wow, what problems am I grateful for not having?
yeah. Gratitude is such an important part of healing and of, moving forward with your life, especially like for people who've had traumas, which is basically everyone gets some kind of traumas in their life. When it happens to us,
Everyone.
yeah, when it happens to us, we think, oh, we're the only ones. But then with time, you find out, wow, so many people, this is just
Welcome to the club, my
this
friend.
life.
Welcome to the club of being alive.
Exactly. You've trekked volcanoes and traveled the world despite huge obstacles. What role did adventure play in your healing? And how do your retreats help others reconnect with themselves?
So my retreats, I started about 15, 20 years ago, and I wanted to offer people what I wanted. I wanted an empowering experience. I wanted to go places and make a difference in the world, but I also wanted to challenge myself. I wanted adventure. I wanted to eat good food, and I wanted some pampering too. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, a little bit holistic, basically. I didn't want to just go lie on a beach and read a book. That's just not my thing. So, for my 25th anniversary of having MS, instead of eating cake, I climbed an active live volcano on a very remote island. And I remember halfway up, I looked down and my feet were bleeding and they were bloodied and blistered. And I thought,
Oh, wow.
I can focus on my feet, or I can focus on this tremendous feat, what I've accomplished. That's a choice.
Which is amazing.
And as I got to the top of this volcano, which I love to take people on, it's incredible. We stood in what's called the kill zone at the top, and my daughter and I were there, and I was looking down into this fiery volcano, and I thought, I don't have a death wish, I have a life wish. And I thought, no one is responsible for my happiness. That is my thing. My happiness is no one else's responsibility, and my suffering is no one else's fault. I am both the master of my disasters and the creator of my detonators. And it's up to me the length of time I suffer. And my memoir, Never Let a Good Disaster Go to Waste, is also my war cry. I'm like, you've got a disaster. Good. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do now? How can you flip it? How can you change that? And so my book is very much about telling my story, but as I tell my story, it's learning how I became stronger from my pain,
Exactly.
my disasters, and
Well,
what
and
a,
helpful for other people to hear how you did that. Because
mhm.
I know for me, it was very helpful.
How
Like,
did it help you?
well, I just found that like when I kept reading thing after thing, especially all the MS stuff of you going through treatments and taking the big risks that you took with your treatment, experimental stuff, it just made me think, wow, she's so brave. Like I should not be afraid as I go forward in life because I'll be able to handle whatever challenges as long as I control my thoughts. I just think that that is just so brave what you went through and what you continue to do even putting out your memoir, so honest, and I think it's going to be helpful to so many people.
Yeah, I get emails every day from people going, "Oh my God, it's changed my life." But
Yeah,
there's one thing I always say to people, don't stay safe. Never say stay safe. I always say live fearlessly. What are you afraid of? Having a life? You know, do it, do it. Don't be afraid. And because our comfort zone gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? As we stop doing things. So I'm always like, every day, push yourself. Do something that scares you. I
yeah.
always say, if no one's called you crazy, you're just not doing life right. Go be
I've
crazy.
been called crazy plenty. Not for the same reasons, but yeah, they're, the things I do, and they're unconventional. And so I understand unconventionality, people trying different things. I fit in with those people. People
Hmm.
like yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm different or crazy. I mean, I
no, I
do.
don't mean crazy in that
Yeah.
way.
People do say I'm crazy though,
But
but I don't think
people
I.
do, just because if you do something that's a little different, just different from, I think society has expectations, and if you don't follow them, sometimes you're looked at as you're crazy.
Mhm.
And I don't find that myself. I don't feel that way. I feel like you're original, you're different. If everybody was the same,
Bold
people
and
would be
beautiful.
boring. Exactly,
I love that.
exactly. If someone listening today is feeling broken or overwhelmed, Kat, what's one message you'd want to leave them with?
We manifest our future by our thoughts. So, first of all, I don't believe anyone's ever broken. I don't agree with that term in any way. I think, yeah, you're suffering, you've got pain. We all go through that. We all do. But it's a choice how long you remain there. And I have to ask, why do you choose to stay there? How's that helpful? They say all of our happiness comes from our desire to bring happiness to others. All of our suffering comes from preoccupation with self. And in the West, it's self, 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 self.
It's true.
So if you're suffering, it's who can you help? Maybe just bake someone a cake, pick some flowers, go read a book to someone's. There's always someone we can go and help. There's always something that we can do. So I always say, if you want to be happy, help someone else and also focus on what you want and really think, is this the life I want? What do I want? And have big, audacious goals. Like when my husband left, I thought I'm going to overcome it, and I wanted an amazing life. And I ended up being stranded on an island in the South Pacific, in the most beautiful place in the world.
Yeah, in
It's
Vanuatu, I thought that I was like shocked when I heard that you were marooned there, like, because you landed there just kind of before COVID, right?
Yeah, I got stuck for 2.5 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Literally stranded in paradise. And and I think it's all a manifestation. So I think everything that happens is karma, right? So however you're feeling now, you have a choice. If you're thinking and feeling down, you have a choice to stop that. Breathe in love, exhale and let it go. But there's one thing I will tell people that I find is a really quick way to get over suffering, and it's this. I want you to think about why you're upset and you're suffering, and then imagine a child in a third world country sitting there, a little girl or boy, and see them looking at you as you explain to this child who has no food or has gone through war, and tell them why your life sucks right now.
Exactly.
And when you can get that perspective that, you know, actually, I have so much to be grateful for.
That's
And
right.
how else can I think about things? So that I think is so powerful.
It is. Um,
And I've got my 12 principles in the book. So they're free on my website, catfinnerty.com. So they can go there and see the 12 principles. The
Perfect.
audio book is there as well.
Great. And I'll put the links to your book and the website in the comments below.
Mhm.
So what are you working on now, Kat? And what's your vision going forward? What do you hope to create or share in the next chapter of your work and in your life?
So, yes, I'm working on two more books: How to Get Over Betrayal in 12 Hours, a self help guide for the soul. And my third book, which is Cat's Tales of the South Pacific, which is all the crazy wild things. So, I was stranded. I was writing a book called Never Let a Good Disaster Go to Waste, and literally got stranded. And I didn't know this on the most natural disaster prone country on the planet. So I had so many cyclones and earthquakes and tsunamis and volcanoes. I was like, this is perfect. But the country's also the happiest place on the earth. And I love learning the resilience of the people. So part of the book, the proceeds go to my chicken project there. So people don't have enough protein. So I teach them how to raise chickens for egg production. So yeah, so that's it. I'm just traveling the world. My book will be a movie soon by Reese Witherspoon.
I can't wait. Manifestation.
Manifesting it.
So I'd like to thank you, Kat, for coming on to the Inspiring Women series on the Bold Life Suite. And we've learned so much today from you and your story, and we're so inspired by everything you've talked about today. And I wish you good luck with everything in life. And yeah, many more adventures for you.
Thank you to you, beautiful. I'm so grateful for
Thank,
you taking the time to
and I'm
speak.
grateful for you. Thank you so much.